Hello class, I am creating this video to help you complete the Excel table pie practice assignment for BPC110. So I've already downloaded the start file and you can see I have the instructions here. So let's just go ahead and run through this. The first thing you want to do is to remember that whenever you open any of the files that we provide to you, just go ahead and check and make sure that the calculation options is set to automatic. And so you can do that on the formula ribbon. You can go to calculation options and you can see this one is set to manual. So this is how I downloaded the file. I'm not quite sure why Excel does that, but what happens is when you set it to automatic, it ensures that every time you enter a function or a formula and press the enter key, that your answers are updated automatically. So if you're entering content into the worksheet and you press enter and you see no changes, you can always just check this calculation options to make sure that is checked. All right, so this worksheet, or excuse me, this workbook is divided into two worksheets. We have the table practice and the pie practice, and so we're going to do some different things on each of these worksheets. This first worksheet is about creating tables inside of Excel. So you might be saying, what do you mean create a table? I have rows and I have columns and I've got these grid lines and it looks like it's kind of like a table. But actually in Excel, you can designate a certain area of the worksheet as a table, and what that is that turns it into an object that you can manipulate. You can filter it and sort it and do all kinds of mathematical operations on it. And actually this is what you're doing is you're turning your Excel workbook into a database. And so when we get to the database unit in module 4, we'll be able to look back on this assignment and kind of talk about how it actually functions as a database. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to say we're going to convert the range A10 to D20 into a table with headers. So if you know which area on your worksheet is going to be a table, so it's going to be A10 to D28, we make a selection, and then we want to insert a table. And so you want to go ahead and click that, and then you want to make sure that you have a check mark here that says my table has headers. And what that refers to is this, in this case, row 10. So what it'll do is it'll take this first row and it'll ensure that everything can be sorted properly underneath it. If you don't check the box, what happens is it actually includes row 10 as part of the information in your table, and it creates generic headers and it just messes the whole thing up and it doesn't work right. And the only way to fix it is to go backwards in time and to redo it. So when you lay out your data in an Excel worksheet, you want to make sure that you have these labels at the top that identify what information is underneath it, and those turn into headers. So when I click OK, you'll see that the worksheet changed, and actually a new ribbon opened up, this design ribbon. So as a reminder, anytime you insert anything into a worksheet other than data, so a chart, a picture, a table, you will get one or two additional ribbons that open up that give you all the tools you need to format that. So if I click outside the table into the worksheet, you'll see that that ribbon went away. And if I click anywhere inside the table, you'll see that table design ribbon pops up. All right, so what happens is it turns this information into an object. I've got these little icons, or these little drop-down buttons, excuse me, not icons, they're actually called option buttons. If you click on it, you'll see you get all kinds of information here. And so it becomes this object that we can manipulate and do different types of analysis on the information. All right, step 3 says apply accounting number format with 0 decimal places to the range C11 to C28. By now you should know how to do that. This is money, so I'm going to go ahead and select that range of cells. And then on the home ribbon in the number panel, I'm going to go ahead and choose the accounting number format. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save my file. Give me a moment here. Okay, just had to pause it for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and click Save As, and I'm just going to leave my file in the downloads. I'm working right here creating this video, and so just remember that you want to go ahead and remove the word start file, and you can type your first and last name. And as a reminder, you don't ever have to type the file extension. Excel will add that for you. All right, so we went ahead and saved it. All right, step 4, use the COUNTIF function to find out how many of each product type, king, queen, sago, palm, and pygmy date, there are in the table in the range B5 to B8. Okay, so right up here in these cells, we're going to use the COUNTIF function. And remember, the COUNTIF function will count cells on a worksheet. It counts boxes on the worksheet. Remember, there are 3 count functions. We have count, count A, and COUNTIF. So those are the 3 count functions that we talk about in this class. The count function itself, and you played with that in a previous lesson. That literally counts boxes on the worksheet, cells on the worksheet that have numbers inside it. There's also a count A. If I actually search for it right here and I type in count and the letter A, that's what I'm looking for, count A. That actually counts arguments, but it counts boxes that have words or letters, not numbers. And then count if I search for that one, which we're going to use here in a minute, that counts a range of cells based on a certain criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel on that. So what we want to do is we want to count. Okay, queen is the first one. So if we looked down here in the worksheet, how many say queen? And just to give you guys a little bit of a backup, this is, we pretend we have a landscaping business, and these are all of our products that we sell. And so they're just different kinds of trees, right, at different price points. So if I wanted to see how many queens I had, well, I could just count, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could type the number 4 here, right? That's accurate. But if I go ahead and I were to delete a row, or I would to insert a row, I would add more data, this number would not change. It's not flexible. But if I used a function to count cells, only count the boxes that say queen, then if I were to add another queen, those numbers would change. All right, so let's talk about how that looks. I'm going to delete this. So we're going to go ahead and search for the count if. So we can search that using the insert function. We're going to type count if. I know it's right here at the top, so because I had just picked it, but you can go ahead and type count if, press go, and then you'll look for it in a list. It is at the top. And you can move this dialog box wherever you want. So what range of cells are we going to count? Are we going to look at? Well, we're going to count B11 through B28. So I can come right out here and select B11 through B28. Now it doesn't say in the argument B11 to B28, it says table 1 product name. Because we turned our part of our worksheet into a table, it becomes this object. So Excel looks at it, it's called table 1. That's because we only have one table. And product name happens to be this column of cells, okay? You could have typed in B11 colon B28. That would totally be accurate, and you can see it has all of the pieces of that column right here. So both of those work, right? You can type it in manually, or you can select it in the worksheet. All right, so once we've selected the range of cells that we know we want Excel to count, how do we know which ones to count? Well, we want them to count all the ones that say queen. So I'm actually going to type the word queen in here, and you should spell it exactly as you see it in the worksheet. Some students tend to, when they do this assignment, so I'm going to do this incorrectly. Some students say, oh, I want to count queen. I'm going to just pick a cell that has the word queen in it. That does work, but if at any point in the future you were to change the contents of cell B13, let's say to king, then this function would no longer work the way you want it to work. So we want to be very specific. So we're going to type the word queen. And if I click back into the range box, take note that the word queen appears in double quotes. That's supposed to happen. That means it's a string. It's telling Excel, hey, this is not numbers. These are letters or words. And so that's what the quotes mean. All right. So I don't want you to be confused by that. Just be aware that that will happen. And you can see right here, here's our answer. And we got 4. So that looks good. All right. Click OK. And that's awesome. So then we went ahead and we added that function right here. So we want to replicate that over and over again. So you might think to yourself, oh, I could use the fill handle. So let's just do that and see what happens. So I use the fill handle and I get 4, 4, and 3. So let's just do a quick check. How many pygmy dates do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and that says 4. And how many kings do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so things aren't working right. So, wonder what's going on. So one of the things I always like to remind my students is that if something weird is in the worksheet or something unexpected happens, or you just don't even understand the numbers that you're getting, go ahead and double click one of those cells. I'm going to double click the cell to kind of look at what's going on. And so you can see it's selected this range of cells, but it's actually missing one of the cells, or it shifted all of the range down. Well, that's supposed to happen because we used relative cell referencing, because we linked to those cell locations. When we copied the function down into the next cell, it incremented that cell location. So here's a little trick for you. I could, inside the cell, it being active, I can actually grab the range and drag it up. And now I've adjusted it back to B11 to B28. And then I could come right in here and instead of queen, I'm going to type pygmy date. And now we've got the 5. Now I got this little arrow. Excel is saying, hey, are you sure that's correct? Yes, it is. We know it is correct, but you just want to look at this. It's going to tell you, hey, I might be able to help you with this. I'd like to remind my students, computer dumb, human smart. Remember, you are the smarter person here. The computer doesn't know everything. Excel doesn't know everything. It's trying to help you. Maybe didn't recognize what you were doing. So it is important to look at these messages, but in this case, we know that the function is correct. All right, we'll go ahead and edit this one. I can double click this cell. Again, you can see it shifted the range down by 2 cells. That makes sense, but we don't want it. So I can just click on the edge of that range placeholder, drag it up, and then change this to king. Okay, and then you can see that little arrow went away. Now Excel understands what I'm trying to do. All right, the last one is Sago Palm. Let's go ahead and, if I double click this, obviously it shifted it down by 3. I'm going to press the escape key on my keyboard to get out of that, and I'll show you a different way to edit it. So instead of double clicking the cell, I can just select this cell, B8, and come right up here to the formula bar and adjust the range right here. So it needs to be B11 to B28. And then I'm going to change it from queen to Sago Palm. Okay, and then if I click this check mark as a reminder, that's the same as pressing the enter key, but it doesn't move the cell location down. All right, save my file, and hopefully you were able to get that piece. And obviously, if anything in this lesson doesn't make sense, always send me an email. All right, next one. Step 5. Use the if function in cell D11 to place the label order product or the label OK if there are 25 or less of any product in stock. Notice how the range D12 to D28 fills with the same function. You only have to write it one time and Excel will fill it for you in a table object. All right, so what's happening is we're going to place our cursor in cell D11 and we're going to use an if function. Okay, you've practiced if up to this point, so we're going to practice it again. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an if function that will look at, in this case, A11, and it will do a test. It will see if whatever value in A11 is either greater or less than 25. That was the qualifier over here, right? And then depending on what that answer is, if it's less than 25, we want the word order product to appear. And if it's 26 or more, then we want the word OK. And so we're going to use an if function to look at the cell and make a determination. We're going to do that, and then we're going to copy the whole function down, and it'll look at all the cells. So the biggest thing I like to remind students is when you write an if function, you write it for one cell at a time. Do not write it for an entire range of cells. All right, what does that mean? And let me just widen this a little bit. All right, so with my cursor in D11, I'm going to go ahead and use the insert function. If is already in my list, so I see it there, I can double click it. If it wasn't there, I could just search for it. All right, so here's the if function. It has 3 arguments, 3 white boxes, and so it's broken down into 3 parts. The first part is the test, the logical test. If what? In this case, if there are 25 or less product quantity in stock. If that's true, we want the word order product to appear. And if it's false, we want the words OK. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the logical test. So in this case, I am testing cell A11, so I can click on that. Now, when I do that, it doesn't say A11 here. It's actually giving me some weird language that's related to the table. So if you could either click the cell, we know it's A11, or you could type A11, right? Either one of those is true. If A11 is greater than, 25 or less. So less than or equal to 25. That's what we want to write in. I could have written it the other way as well, but I want to follow what the instructions say so the logic makes sense. So 25 is less than or equal to 25. 25 or less than or equal to 25. Those two things mean the same thing. I do the less than symbol, and then I do the equal symbol because I actually want to test for the value of 25. So if that statement is true, I want the word order product to appear. And if it's 26, 27, 28, whatever, I want the word OK to appear. All right. Now you can see right here, A11 less than or equal to 25, it already says false because it's evaluating this. 54 is not, it is bigger than 25. So we would not need to order this product, okay? What I don't want students to do, so I'm going to show you the mistake first. What I find some students do is they select this entire range right here, and then they go less than equal 25, okay? That would be incorrect. I want you to remember that you're only testing one cell at a time. Whoops. A11 less than equal 25. Sorry about that. All right, you want to test one cell at a time. All right, so, and you can see the answer is okay. So we click okay, and then if you didn't catch that super fast, because we put it into a table and the table is a little bit smart, it sees the one function here, it automatically replicates it all the way down for us. So we didn't even have to use our fill handle. All right, save the file. So let's just test that to see if it works. So if I were to come over here to cell A11 and I said, oh, I don't have 54 products, I only have 4, and I type enter, you'll see that that changes to order product, okay? So I'm going to undo that, Control Z, put it back the way that it was. All right, I don't know about you, but I'm a super visual person. So in addition to reading words, I like colors and pictures. That really helps me identify things. So the next step is step 6, use conditional formatting on the range D11 through D28 to show those cells that have the label order product in them. Apply light red fill with dark red text. So conditional formatting literally really has nothing to do with math. It just has to do with changing the appearance of a cell based on the contents inside of it, right? So in this case, if it says the word order product, I want it to change to a different color. So how do you set conditional formatting? First thing you want to do is select the range of cells that we're looking at. So in this case, just these cells here. Notice how I don't include the labels at the top. These pieces, row 10, this is not part of the functions and formulas or any type of conditional formatting. These are literally labels that identify the information that's underneath it. And we're going to play with these buttons here in the next step. All right, so after I've made my selection on the home ribbon, in the styles panel, there's this button called conditional formatting. If you pop the arrow down, the one that I like to show students right here is highlight cell rules. You can find a lot of great rules right up here that are built in. So I want to highlight cells that have text that contains the word order product. I could have used equal to, that will also work, but since we're dealing with text, it kind of makes sense to say text that contains. So I have the cell selected, I go highlight cell rules, and I choose text that contains, and then Excel is going to help me build it. So what do I want to change it? Look at this, light red fill with dark red text. You can see there's some presets here, and you can even create your own custom format, but we're just going to go ahead with the default. So if it says the word order product, as I start to type that in, it immediately finds the one with order product and changes it to red. Click OK, right? So now, if I come in here again and I change the content of any one of these quantities, oh, I don't have 234 kings, I might have 2. When I press enter that, update it, you can see that the information changes. Control Z, I'm going to undo that. All right. All right, a few more other visual formatting elements. Apply orange data bars to the range A11 to A28 to visually show stock amount comparisons. All right, data bars are just really all that it does is giving you more visual information. So again, what you can do is you're just going to select A11 to A28. And then under this, on the home ribbon, under conditional formatting, there's also a tool called data bars. You can pick any color you want. I know I say orange, but you can pick any color you want. I'll go ahead and pick pink or purple in this case. So I click that, and what it does is it fills all the cells with color, and the amount of color is based on the value in the cell. So in this case, 234 is the largest value in all of these cells. That's why this whole cell is filled with pink, right? And you can see down here 12, that has a tiny amount, right? So what I like to do is I'll change the number of one of these cells so you can dramatically see the change. All right, so let's say I go to cell A11, and if you want, you can practice it on your own. I'm going to type in 1,000, I'm going to type in 500, right? And I press enter. You can see that now this cell is filled to the fullest and all the others are filled relative to the 500. So this one, 234, is almost halfway filled because it's close to 250, which is half of 500. Okay, so this is just showing you visual comparisons. I'm going to do an undo. So if you were quickly looking at this, you could be like, whoa, why do we have so many kings on stock? And you could go talk to the person in the back room. What's happening? Why do we have so many of these? We have almost twice as many of these kings as anything else. What's going on? Maybe we need to have a sale, right? Or something to get rid of that inventory. All right, save that. Okay, let's talk about using the table and performing some mathematical functions. All right, step 8, go to, step 8, go to table design, table options, and turn on the total row. So you want to make sure that you click inside the table to turn on the design ribbon. And then right here in the table style options, you want to put a check mark next to total row. And when you do that, you see now row 29 exists. And if I were to click in that, any one of these cells at the bottom in the total row, if I click in any one of those, notice there's this little drop down here, right? What could that be? If I just click on it, oh, I have a bunch of functions, right? Same thing here, you get the same list of functions. So what happens is now I can perform math on the data inside the table. And I'll show you how powerful that is. All right, so step 9 says filter the table for queen products. In cell A29, use the sum function to find the total amount of queen products and type this value into cell C5. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to look at these drop downs. So, okay, I don't want to do something without backing up. We're going to be sorting later on. Okay, so what you can do is you can do filtering and sorting. What does that mean? All right, so if I come over here to product name, if I uncheck select all and just select king, what happens is I can see just the king products. I've filtered this table to show me just the kings, right? Everything is still there. It's just hidden. In fact, that's why these rows now have turned blue, right? Because I'm just seeing row 11, 12, 17, 18, 19, and 23. I don't see any of the rows in between. They're hidden. And now that my table is filtered, you can see there's a little filter icon that's giving you a visual. And if I hover over it, it's even telling me the filter equals king. That means I'm only looking at the kings, right? If I want to bring all the data back, I can go clear filter from product name. That brings everything back, okay? We can also sort this. We could sort it alphabetically, A to Z. We can sort things numerically, small to large. We're going to do that in an upcoming step. All right, so what we want to do is we want to know the total queens we have in stock, right? So I could go 98 plus 122 plus 56 plus 32. I could just type a sum function in there and select those 4 cells. But the problem with that is if I were to come into my table and add more data, add more kings, add more queens, so on and so forth, that function would not update because it's be very specific. So let's just go through this a little bit. I'm going to filter the table for queen, right? Because we want all the queens. And then I want to add these 4 together. Now, when I teach this in person, I always tell the students, all right, let's add a sum function. Okay, and that's not the cell I want to add. I actually want to add these 4 cells. So I come into the worksheet and then I go ahead and I click OK. All right, I got 1,284. Now, first of all, Excel's already telling you this cell, there's some weird error coming, right? This formula is in this cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it. All right, I'm not sure if that's really helpful to me. But the other thing you could think is 1,284. Does 98 plus 122 plus 56 plus 32, does that equal something over 1,000? Okay, I don't need to be like Einstein to know that these 4 numbers do not equate to 1,000. That's closer to something around 300, right? So what's happening? I always like to ask my students, what's happening? Well, I'm going to go ahead and double click this. What's happening is if I just use my regular old sum function on a table, it will add those 4 numbers, but it's also going to add every number we don't see. It's including all the hidden rows. That's why the number is so big. It's adding everything from row 13 through row 28. It's not discriminating. It doesn't just pick the queens, even though that's what I'm seeing. So I'm going to press escape. So, and then I press delete. Instead of using our regular old sum function, we can use a table sum function Once I've filtered my table, I can come down here to cell A29 and I can choose sum here and I get 308. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. These four numbers are closer to 308. So you're just going to type a 308 right here. All right, so we can do some math on this table, but we have to remember to use the special table functions when we're doing any kind of mathematical operations. All right, so we want pygmy date. I'm going to uncheck queen, check pygmy date. Boom, 272. I'm going to now do the same thing for king, uncheck pygmy date, select king. I'm refiltering the table. I get 710. And then the last one is sago palm. And I get 122. All right, so that little exercise was a practice in how to use some table functions to manipulate the information. I'm just looking at it and then just performing specific mathematical operations on that filtered data. All right, we did step 10. We're going to clear the filter. We're going to bring our table all the way back. So before I did clear filter, the other way to bring it back is just click the select all. It's going to pick all the options and click OK. All right, save my file. Okay. The next one is sorting. We can sort the table on retail price, smallest to largest. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and click the little drop down next to retail price and choose sort smallest to largest. And you can see right here the little icon changes. I have an arrow pointing up, meaning it's going from small to big, even though it goes small to big down. But you can see 5 is small and 475 is big. So we've sorted the table. All right, step 13, remove the total row. Now we're just going to do a little manipulation in the worksheet. So just click anywhere inside your table, go to the design ribbon and uncheck total row. You can see that row goes away. And now we're going to convert the table back to a range. You do this in one of the simulations. Why would I want to convert it back to a range? I don't know. You might want to, but what I like to point out is you can click anywhere inside your table and then to convert it back to a range, just regular old cells in the worksheet, doesn't have the fancy table functions, is right here on the design ribbon. We say convert to range. So you click that. It says, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? We say yes. And all you can see is those little drop downs went away. That extra ribbon is gone, but all the formatting remains. Okay. And so what you have to remember is when you convert your table back to a range, any formatting, in this case, all the sorting we've done, that will be there. I cannot get my data back the way that it was before I started this process, unless I had duplicated this worksheet and saved it somewhere else. That's not bad or good. I'm just pointing that out to be aware of that. All right. Next one, this is a repeat. This is just some review of the formatting you've done before. So let's go ahead and format this table. We're going to go to the page layout tab, go to page setup, and then we're going to expand the page setup dialog box. So in past assignments, you can use some of the tools on the ribbon. I actually like to expand the ribbon right here, go to the page setup, and I can set all my printing options right here. I want the page to be landscape. That says landscape. I want it to fit one page. I want it to fit on an 8.5 by 11. So that's what I'm saying right here. If I come to the margins ribbon and I put a check mark next to horizontally, what that does is it moves all the information on my worksheet and puts it in the center of the paper. So when I print it out, it looks really nice. And then the last one is the header footer. I want to insert a custom footer. I'm going to put the file name in the left section. So I'm going to click right here in the left section and click the little insert file name button. We get the code. This is code for Excel, understands what that means. When I click OK, I can now see the file name right here. Here's a little preview. And if I want to click print preview and see what my Excel file actually looked like, there it is right there. It's in the center of the worksheet. It is the landscape, and there is the footer. All right. Save my file, and then let's go to the pie practice worksheet. Okay. So this one deals with making pie charts. So in previous lessons, when you're making some charts, we had to do some calculations to create a pie chart. What I want to show you is that Excel is smart enough that I don't even have to do some math. I can just have some data and some text, and as long as the data is set up properly, Excel will understand it and interpret that and put it into a chart for us. So I always like to ask my students, do you like pie? Hopefully you like pie. This is just a random list of pie flavors. Hopefully you have a pie flavor there you'd like. All right, so we want to create a pie chart. So what we want to do is we want to select the range C4 to D10. So I'm right here on step 2. And then you can see I'm not doing any kind of percentage calculations. Remember, a pie chart shows the percentage of a whole, how many parts add up to 100%. So I can come right up here after I've selected my range, go to Insert and choose 3D Pie. And you can see it makes the pie chart, right? It already created it for me. I didn't even have to do anything. It's like almost magical. All right, we're going to do a little bit of formatting. It says use the chart elements button. That's the little plus in the upper right corner, and remove the legend. So we're going to uncheck the legend. Some students are like, can I just click on it and delete it? You can, but it's better to use the check mark because what happens is Excel will reformat the space of the chart and balance the design. So watch this. I'm going to uncheck it, and you see it fills it and makes it really just beautiful. All right. Expand the data label options and choose more options from the data labels pane. Choose the label options icon on the top right of the panel. Expand the label options, choose percentage and category name options, and uncheck value and any other options that may be selected. Okay, what does that mean? What we want to do is we have numbers here, 14, 5, 17, but wouldn't it be nice to actually show the percentages, what percentage they make up? So right here, we're going to put a check mark next to data label. So that actually puts the actual value that we see in the worksheet. And I'm going to expand that. And I'm going to choose more options. And that actually opens this panel on the right. And instead of value, so there's a little bug in Excel. I haven't quite understood why that happens, but put a check mark next to percentage first. You get the percentages. And then uncheck value. And I can put a check mark next to category name. So that went ahead and it put all the pieces of the different percentages. It converted the numbers to percentages for you, and it added the labels. These are the labels right here. Okay, and then set the label position to outside in. So we're going to go ahead and put outside in. You can see all the labels appear around the outside. And now and then I'm going to go ahead and close this little panel. Actually, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, I know, so we can just see everything that's happening. Just zoom that out a little bit. Okay. So change the chart title to Who Likes Pie. So right now it says number of likes. So I'm going to click on that. Now I've clicked on it one time. Now that I've clicked on it one time, I can start typing over it. When I do that, you'll see the title, words I type appear up here in the formula bar. Watch. So I'm going to type Who Likes Pie? Question mark. So you can see that it's up here in the formula bar. Nothing has changed in my actual chart until I press the enter key. Okay. Now I'm going to do that again, Control Z. The other way to do it is you could double click the chart title and go into edit mode, kind of like how we did in Word, Who Likes Pie? Whoops, question mark. And I don't want to press enter. I can just click outside the chart and it changes it that way. So either one of those methods work. One is not wrong over the other. Okay, select the chart area and choose the fill in line icon. At the top of the format chart area pane, fill the chart area with light gradient, accent 3, preset gradient. Okay, what I like to point out is that a chart, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit. The chart has many different areas. In fact, look over here. I'm going to click on the chart title, and do you see how it says format chart title in this pane or panel? When these panels open up or these panes open up, they just extend the tools that you have access to continue formatting whatever it is you're working on. What I want you to be aware of is that the chart is made up of a lot of different parts. So right now I clicked on chart title and you can see the panel or the pane over here changes to format chart title. If I hover over any area of the chart, you can see what it is. In this case, there's a chart area. And if I were to click it, you can see this says format chart area. If I hover over the pie chart itself, that's a data series. And so I clicked on the pie chart, it selected all of the pieces. If I click on one piece of the pie, in this case, the blueberry, right, it changes to a single data point. So depending on what you click on, and if I come real close, this is called the plot area. This is like kind of the background of the chart itself, not the full chart, right? So there's all these different pieces, data label, right? These are all different pieces of the chart. So you want to be very purposeful on what you click on and make sure that you're formatting the right piece of the chart. So in this case, I want you to select the chart area. So I'm going to click up here in the corner until it says format chart area. All right, so we have the format chart area, and then we want to choose the fill and line icon. So that is that guy right there, the paint bucket. And then under fill, we're going to choose gradient, and here are the preset gradients. And so we're just going to choose, I believe it was one of the yellow ones, light accent gradient 3 preset, this one. Yep, and there it makes that nice little yellow background. Okay, at the same time, we can add a border. So this was the fill, that's the fill color. I'm going to collapse this and expand the border, and I want it to be a solid line. I want the color to be gold, accent 3, and 2 points. I can use my spinner ups to hit the 2 point. I got a nice little thick border. All right, it says deselect the chart. That means click anywhere off the chart, and you can see that my charting ribbons went away. If I click on the chart again, there were 2 ribbons that appeared. I click off of it, that goes away. All right, we're going to go ahead and set up the page layout for this page. This should be pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and close this panel just to give myself a little bit more space. I go to page layout, expand the setup, page setup, and we're going to go through the same settings. We want landscape, we want fit to, we want to set the margins to center the page horizontally, and we're going to go ahead and insert a custom footer in the left section with the file name there. There it is. Click OK. And if I do a print preview right now, you'll see here's the data and here's the chart underneath it. But wait, there's one more step. All right, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is we're going to move the chart. So if you're ever asked to move a chart in an assignment, what we want you to do is we're moving this to a chart, what's called a chart worksheet, a new worksheet called pie chart, okay? So what I don't want you to do, so I'm going to do it wrong, do not cut, Control X, add a new worksheet and paste it. That's not what I'm asking for. Control Z, Control Z. And I'm going to get rid of this worksheet. Instead, when you're asked to move a chart, you want to select the chart, and then on the Chart Tools Design ribbon, there's a button called Move Chart. Click it, and then it will move it to a worksheet, and in this case, we want to call it Pie Chart. Not a lot of thought went into that name, right? And click OK, and watch what happens. It moved it to a new worksheet, but it moved it to what's called a chart worksheet, and it's big and it's beautiful and it fills the whole space and it looks amazing, right? That looks so much better than the other chart we copied and pasted. And then it says move this worksheet to be the last worksheet. So if I just want to move my worksheets around, I could just click on the worksheet tab and drag and drop it wherever I want it to go, right? So when you're asked to create a chart worksheet, that is what we're looking for. Now, you cannot set up page setup. We don't add footers and headers to a chart worksheet. That's why we did those steps beforehand individually on each of these worksheets, but you don't need to set up the footer on this one. All right, so that is this assignment. That is the Excel table pie practice. I'm hoping that you were able to get through this. The great thing is, of course, you're going to get through it. Of course, you'll get through it because you can pause it and rewind it and go through it as many times as you like. So as you work through the assignment, please let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to grading your work. Thank you.